10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Alrighty guys, first question. As a part of your monthly report, you must classify specific vulnerabilities into a broad range of vulnerability types. What type of vulnerabilities is demonstrated by an SQL injection? Alrighty. SQL injection. So default configurations, misconfigurations, weak configurations, improper error handling, improper input handling. Okay, so I am thinking that when it comes to SQL injection, right, the main defense against SQL injection is usually input validation. So I'm going to say that improper input handling is probably going to be the answer for this one here. Default configurations would be more along the lines of like, I always think of it as like, hey, you didn't change your password for the default configurations. Misconfigurations or weak configurations, kind of the same thing. Those two kind of cancel each other out. Improper error handling. This isn't, a SQL injection isn't necessarily an error. Things could still be working appropriately. So, yep. So, a SQL injection is an example of an improper input handling, and the impact can include data destruction or unfederated access to the database. Inputs should be checked for common SQL injection symbols. Other examples of improper input handles include failure to validate the types of data in the input value or input field, the length of the data, and the proper date ranges. Yep, so hopefully everyone understood that one. And let's go to the next one. Okay. You need to digitally sign packets that are transmitted on IPsec connections for your organization's VPN. Which of the following should be implemented? Alright, so we have Diffie-Hellman, ISA-KMP, DES, and KHMAC. Alright, so I'm going to be honest with you. I am definitely terrible at when it comes to encryption. I know that both Diffie-Hellman and DES are encryption protocols. So usually when I don't know the answers to there, I'm trying to understand what exactly it is that they're asking for. Is this a confidentiality question? Is this an integrity question? Or is this an availability question? The CII triad, that kind of gives you a better understanding, at least it does for me, of what was possibly going to be the best answer. So we are looking for digitally signed packets. So when I think of digitally signed anything, I'm automatically thinking my hat is going on to the integrity piece of it. We want to make sure that the person who is delivering the packet is who they say they are. So I know that Diffie-Hellman and DES are both of those are cryptography, but more along the lines of integrity. So I'm thinking that it's probably going to be Diffie-Hellman, but I wouldn't be surprised that it's DES. So I'm going to ask you guys, what do you think? Process of elimination, so either A or C. Okay, got some A's, got a couple of C's, got one D. I don't think it's D just because Mac is that's usually hardware, like a MAC address or something like that. I don't know what KH stands for. I don't even know if that's a thing. Oh crap, it was. I accidentally pressed it. I forgot about this, but alright, so the answer was D. Key hashing for messaging authentication code is used to digitally sign packets that are transmitted on internet protocols, IPsec. The standard is also referred to as key hash messaging authentication code. Data encryption standard is a private key encryption standard that is used in IPsec to ensure that the data packets are confidentially transmitted. Diffie-Hellman facilitates encryption key sharing, and Internet Security Association and Key Management supports the establishment of security associations. So that I did not know, so that's new information to me. So the answer was D. Cool, let's go to the next one. Alrighty, so as part of a company's risk management process, you identify the methods of managing, match each description with the appropriate risk management method. What do you guys think? Alright, so let's see what we got here. So this is all the ways that once you determine what the risk is, these are the types of actions that you have. So risk acceptance is when you've got all your controls in place and you decide that the residual risk itself is something that you can accept. So that's what that is. Risk avoidance is just simply like not doing anything about it. Risk deterrence is where risk deterrence. I forgot what risk deterrence was, so I might have to come back to that. Risk mitigation is kind of putting controls into place to mitigate the exposure, and risk transference is usually allowing somebody else, like insurance companies, to take on the risk itself. So let's see if we can kind of deduce this. I always start with risk transference because that one's the easiest one. When you think of transference, think of insurance. So let's see, discouraging, deciding to bear the cost of, okay. Discouraging certain actions from being taken to protect against the risk, sharing the burden of a potential risk with another entity. Okay, so this is risk transference. Okay. Risk mitigation is always going to be putting in controls to lessen the exposure of the risk. So that's discouraging certain actions from being taken. No, sharing the burden. We already did that one. Deciding to no longer employ the action associated. Nope. Taking steps to reduce the risk. Yep. Okay, so risk acceptance is going to be the next one to tackle. Risk acceptance is after all controls have been put into place. These are what we're going to go ahead and accept the risk as it is. So deciding to no longer employ the actions associated with a particular risk. Sharing the burden. No, discouraging certain actions from being taken to protect against the risk. Deciding to bear the cost of the potential risk. So that one's going to be there. Alright, so we got risk avoidance. And this is deciding to no longer employ the action associated with a particular risk. Or discouraging certain actions from being taken to protect against the risk. Alright, I don't like how these things are worded. Deciding to no longer employ the actions associated with a particular risk. Discouraging. Okay, so I'm going to say discouraging is going to be deterrence, and deciding to no longer employ the actions. So that's going to be the answers. Perfect. Yep. Okay, So hopefully that helps. Again, when you get these questions, kind of start with transference. Again, insurance, right? Mitigation is controls that you're putting into place to reduce the risk. You can never reduce the risk to zero, but you can reduce it low enough to where it's not a huge significant impact. Risk acceptance is, again, after all controls have been put into place, you're deciding to take on whatever potential risk that is left over, also known as residual risks. Cool. All right, so I think we're good here. Let's go next one. A hacker carries out an attack by hijacking a communication session between a web browser and a web server. Which type of attack is this? Okay. So it's a SYN-ACK attack is when you send a communication out and then they're supposed to send it back to you, but you send another send synchronization out to them, and that's kind of goes over and over again. So I don't think that's what we're talking about here. When I think of hijacking, I always think of a man in the middle attack. So I think that the answer is going to be C. Yep. Cool. Alrighty. So install a type of monitoring that requires updates to be regularly obtained to ensure effectiveness. What type of monitoring did you install? Okay, I'll let you guys answer this one here, and I'll let you know what my answer is. Give you guys 30 seconds. Alright, what are we thinking, guys? What are we thinking? Alright, here we go. So I think that this is going to be a signature-based monitoring system. So an anomaly-based is kind of having a baseline, and then it alerts you when things are outside of that baseline. It's also I think it's also called a heuristics scan or basic scan. Network is something that's just based on the network itself. There's no questions on here, or the question doesn't really talk about it being network based. A behavior is kind of, it monitors what you normally do from day to day, or what your processes do day to day, and if anything kind of deviates from that, then it kind of alerts you. Again, it's a subset of heuristics, but signature based I think is the one that's going to be here. So we're going to go with C. Yep. Alright, let's go to the next one, guys. You're creating a IDS, an intrusion detection solutions, intrusion detection system solution for your company's network. You define a role that prevents an email client from executing the cmd.exe, so the command prompt, and alerts you when this is attempted. What type of IDS are you using? Okay, so it's definitely not going to be signature based because you're setting up roles itself. An anomaly based, I don't think that that's going to be it either. Behavior based, again, it's that detects your behavior. I'm going to go with misuse detection based, although that name sounds a little loaded. I would not be surprised if it was behavior based. But I'm going to go with C. What do you guys think? All right. In Sage we trust. Oh, it was behavior based. All right. So let's see if there's any such thing as misused detection based. I don't think there is. Oh, here it is. A misuse detection based is the same as a signature based monitoring. Okay. All right. I've never heard of a misuse detect. I knew that that term was loaded. So that should have probably been my first indication that that was probably not the right answer, but it's all good. Behavior based. Behavior-based IDS looks for behaviors that is not allowed and acts accordingly. When you define a rule that prevents an email client from executing and alerts you when this is attempted, you have a behavior-based monitoring system. Okay. It's good to know, good to know. Anomaly-based detects any changes or deviations in the network. Cool. All right, so you manage the security for a small corporate network that includes a hub and firewall. Hub and a firewall. Okay. So you want to provide protection against traffic sniffing. What do? What do you guys do? Okay. So here's the thing. I've always been taught that hubs are dumb. That it's very difficult to do anything or to assign any type of controls when it comes to a hub. It always collides. So, yeah. So, and it also broadcasts to everything that's hooked up to the hub itself. So with that being said, we're talking about traffic sniffing, so it's confidentiality based. I would say that it's probably the best option would be to use a switch instead of a hub. With the switch, you are able to apply controls such as the ACL. You can do that on a switch. You can't do it on a hub itself. So I think that's the reason why D is kind of not the answer. Replace the hub with a repeater. I think a hub is a form of a repeater, but I could be wrong. So I think C is probably not right. And I don't think you can put in filters on a hub because, again, a hub is dumb. A switch is more robust, so that's probably going to be your answer. So I think it's A, but before we go there, it looks like Rashawn on YouTube has a question. What's going on, Rashawn? Thanks so much for joining the stream. What question do you have, my friend? Oh, my man's coming here with the Xbox question, so we'll take a little bit of a pause and we'll talk about the little Xbox black screen of doom. So yes, man, if you've seen my video, Rashawn, I did a walkthrough of from beginning to end on how to fix the Xbox black screen of doom. Just in short, I believe that it was a result of a bad update. I appreciate you, Rashawn. I think it was a bad update, but the simple fix for this thing here is you need to get to the green screen to enable yourself to get into troubleshooting mode. So in order for you to be able to do that, start off by completely turning off your Xbox. So long press the Xbox button until it completely shuts off. You can kind of hear a click after you do that. I'd wait about 10 or 15 seconds and then cut it back on. Once you cut it back on, then you want to hit the sync button, which is on the left side of your console, and you also want to hit the is it the eject button? Press and hold down the power button until. All right, so All right, so I'm showing here. It's about the 3-minute mark, 4-minute mark. I'm showing you how to do it here. So completely shut it down. Once you do that, you want to wait about 5 seconds before doing this method. So once that turns off, wait 5 seconds. Okay. And you want to go ahead and hit the power button. And you hit the power button and the eject button. Yeah, I had it right. It's been a while since I've seen this video, so here we go. And once you do, you can go ahead and release those buttons and then look at your screen. Your screen should automatically... Alright, so once you're there, Rashawn, it should throw you right into the troubleshooting mode, and that's when you can start doing your thing in terms of getting yourself back up and online. Hopefully that helped you out. Yeah, hopefully that helped you out, my man. Of that is probably where I would ask that you do that, like pay it forward. I helped you with your Xbox. Go and help somebody else out, and we'll call it square, my man. Cool. Just doing my part, man. Like we're a community, and I'm always of the philosophy that we should do what we can to help each other out. So hopefully I helped you out, and hopefully you can help someone else out. And definitely appreciate you supporting the channel, and getting the message out there. We're trying to do big things here, and this is one of the ways that we pay it forward. Alright, so we're going to get back to the Security Plus here. And if you haven't already, please make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, whether you're on YouTube or whether you're on Twitch. Greatly appreciate it. I am going to go with replace the hub with the switch as the option, and yes, that's it. Alright, guys. Let's go to the next one. Okay, so you've been hired as a security consultant for a new company named Veragon. Veragon needs guidance on which protocols to implement on the network. Match each protocol on the left and correct. Okay, networking, not my strongest suit, but can get away with a lot of these things. So let's try to do this. Secure IMAP, that is going to be related to emails. IMAP is emails, so I'm going to put that there. File transfer over SSH. So FTP stands for File Transfer Protocol, and S at the end stands for shell, secure shell. So that is going to go there. LDAP is LDAP. Take care, Rashawn. Thank you so much again for joining the stream, my man. Appreciate you. All right. LDAP. Yeah, you know what? Happy birthday to you, my man. Rashawn is on our YouTube channel. He's one of our community members. Just special shout out to you, Rashawn. Happy birthday to you, my man. And stay safe. Be careful. Celebrate carefully. A lot of craziness going on right now, but wishing you a happy birthday, my man. All right. File transfers over SSL. Alright, so secure FTP and FTPS. So, okay, I believe over SSL would be this, and I think STFP is that one. Secure Directory Services, RTP. So we got video and we got directory services. Alrighty, so I forgot forgot what LDAP stands for. I believe that one is audio and video, if I'm not mistaken. With process elimination, I'm going to say SRTP is Secured Directory Services, but I can't. All right. Do or die, guys. Let's see. All right. So we had them backwards. So SRTP was for voice, and then Secure Directory Services, LDAPs. Cool. Yeah. I do not. Hey, Rashawn. Nope. Unfortunately I do not play Fortnite. If I play anything that's online based, it's usually going to be Apex. I love playing Apex. Right now, I am also playing Mortal Shell on Game Pass. I think that's a pretty cool game too. But Final Fantasy 11 or Final Fantasy 14, I'm sorry, is also something I play. But I only play games on the weekends. During the weekdays, it's usually going to be work related or studying. But no, I mean, if you like Fortnite's your thing. More power to you, my man. More power to you. Alrighty, so you are developing a VPN, virtual private network for remote users. You want to meet the following goals. The VPN gateway should require the use of IPsec. All remote users must use IPsec to connect to VPNs, and no internal host should use IPsec. Okay, well that makes sense. So which mode should we be using? Alright, host to gateway. This configuration is not possible. Gateway to gateway and host to host. Okay, VPN. Alright, so let's see if this thing is possible. The internal host should not. Internal host should use. No internal host should use IPsec. That's a tough one. Gateway to gateway. Okay, I don't think it's host to host. I am struggling with that last bullet point. No internal host should use IPsec. No internal host should use IPsec. I don't like that. So I think it's either going to be host to gateway or this configuration is not possible. I'm going to say that this configuration is not possible because I don't think that. And my question is, why would you want no? And this might be just me needing to go and research a little bit more, but internal host should be able to have IPsec. Let's see. No, it was host to gateway. Alright, so let's see this explanation here. You should deploy host to gateway IPsec modes. In this configuration, the VPN gateway requires that the use of IPsec for all remote clients. The remote clients use IPsec to connect to VPN gateways. IPsec is not used for any communications between VPN gateways and the internal host on behalf of the remote clients. Only the traffic over the internet uses IPsec. Okay, I guess that makes sense. Internal users not surfing the net wouldn't really necessarily need IPsec. And a host-to-host IPsec mode, each host must deploy IPsec. This mode would require that any internal hosts that communicate with VPN clients would need to deploy IPsec. Okay, hosted gateway and host-to-host VPNs, also referred to as remote access VPNs. In gateway-to-gateway IPsec mode, the gateways at each end of the connection provides IPsec functionality. The individual hosts do not. Okay. For that reason, the VPN is transparent to the users. The deployment best works when a branch office or partner company needs access to your network. Gateway-to-gateway VPNs are also referred to as site-to-site VPNs. Okay. So the key here, all remote users must use IPsec to connect to the VPN network. Okay, cool. Oh, man. You suspect that several users are using expired digital certificates, and the other digital certificates are very close to expiration. You need to examine the list of serial numbers of digital certificates that have not expired but should be considered invalid. Which PKI, public key infrastructure, components should you examine? UDP is not a and it's not in the same area as digital certificates, so that's definitely not the answer. KRL, I believe, is certificate revocation list, so this is like the list of certificates that are not valid, so that might be it. A certificate, CA is a certificate authority, so certificate authorities are used to issue certificates. Probably not the answer. KDC I don't think is certificate related, so that's probably not my answer. I'm going to go with C. Let's see. You need to examine the list of serial numbers of digital that have not expired but should be considered invalid. Oh. So now I'm thinking it might be certificate authority. No, I'm going to go with CRL. Yep, cool. A certificate revocation list contains a list of serial numbers for digital certificates that have not expired, but that a certificate authority has specified to be invalid. Typically, the serial numbers of a digital certificate is placed in a CRL because a digital certificate has been compromised in some way. All right, cool. Key to distribution center is used in Kerberos network authentications to distribute resource access keys. Cool. Alrighty. Your organization is a subcontractor for a major government defense contractor. While writing an incident response plan, you must determine the circumstances under which to bring in outside contractor. Let's put some music on. Okay, I am going to hit the restroom real quick. You guys take a look at this one here, and when I get back, we will answer the question. Alrighty. Alright, let's do this, guys. You are a subcontractor for a major government defense contractor. While writing an ICP, incident response plan, you determine that the circumstances on which to bring in an outside contractor. You must determine the circumstances under which to bring in an outside contractor. Okay. Which portion of the incident response plan includes this information? Alright. So documented incident, reporting and escalating guidelines, roles and responsibilities, and cyber incident response team. Okay, so keywords here: subcontractor, government defense contractor, irrelevant, ICP, relevant, You're determining if you are bring in an outside contractor. So document incident is when you discover something, so that's not the answer. Reporting escalation guidelines is where you find something and then you follow the procedures. So this could be the answer. Roles and responsibilities is probably the more appropriate answer, whereas you're saying that you do X, Y, and Z, and anything that's outside of that might go there. So I'm teetering between B and C. C is going to be my leading answer. I would not be surprised if it's B, Cyber Incident Response Team, which is a CRIT team. That's something that's already established, whether it's that's something that's already established. That's probably not the answer. So while writing an incident response plan, you determine that the circumstances under which to bring in a outside contractor. So I'm going to go with roles and responsibilities. You're essentially writing a plan to determine when to bring in certain people. Okay, so the answer was reporting and escalation guidelines. So an incident response plan should include reporting requirements and escalation guidelines. The reporting requirements would indicate how incidents are reported, what document is required, and what outside agencies, if any, should be notified. Escalation guidelines would indicate under what circumstances you need to ask for additional assistance. Okay. When following the incident response plan, the final outcome of the incident should be a documented incident. Among the things to include would be what happened, who responded, what damage was in place, and what incidents occurred, and what escalations are needed. Okay, so completely understand why that was the answer. Cool. Management asks you to implement an encryption standard that uses a single 56-bit encryption key to encrypt 64 blocks of data. What encryption standard would you implement? SSL, I believe, uses 256, so that's not going to be the answer. There's triple DES. Well, triple DES is 3 DES, so that's not really triple DES. And then there's DES, and then there's Blowfish. So the answer is probably going to be either C or D. I can't remember what Blowfish does, but I want to say it's 126 or 156. 130. Yeah. I think this might be Blowfish, guys. What do you think? Okay. Alright, I'm going to go with Blowfish. It was Dez. Okay. So Dez is a block cipher. I guess that was our first clue, was block cipher. Blowfish is a private key encryption. Optimizes use for 32-bit processors and has a maximum length of 448 bits. Alright. So it was Dez. Cool. Cryptography, not my strongest suit. Alright, your company has a website based on their domain name. In addition to the website, they also operate mail and FTP servers using the same domain name. Which of the following options would simplify certificate management? Okay. I'm thinking that self-signed certificates, guys. What are you thinking? Yeah, code signing, I believe, is more of like development of software, so I don't think that's the right answer. I've never heard of wildcard certificates before, and I believe SAND is I don't even know what SAN is. self-signed certificates. Oh, it was wildcard certificates. Okay, so that is actually a thing. Wildcard certificates allow you to create a certificate in a domain and use the same certificate for multiple subdomains. For example, if you have a subdomain named mail.mysite.com, ftp.mysite.com, and www.mysite.com, you could issue a wildcard certificate for mysite.com and have it cover all the subdomains. Without the wildcard certificate, you would have to issue a certificate for each subdomain. And then the subject alternative name is a field in the certificate definition that allows you to stipulate additional information such as IP address or host names. Cool. Well, I guess that would make sense. I remember setting up a website for a client, and every single one of the websites that we would have to, any subdomains that we would have to set up, we actually had to have a certificate for it, and that's because they didn't have the wildcard certificate option. So cool. Okay, on to the next. On to the next. Okay, so I might actually make this only 20 since we don't have a high participation rate right now, guys, but and it's getting kind of late too. So alright, so your company has recently decided to create a custom application instead of purchasing a commercial alternative. As a security administrator, you have to be asked to develop security policies and procedures on examining the written code to discover any security flaws and holes that may exist. Which assessment types will be performed as a result of this new policy. Okay. There's vulnerability scanning, secure code review, review design, and baseline reporting. So baseline reporting is more of, from a systems perspective, it's not when you're creating applications. So that's probably not the answer. Vulnerability scanning is kind of on that same line, where you're scanning things for normal CVs that are out there, so that's not going to be the answer either. So the answer is going to either be B or C. Review design, probably not the best answer. Secure code review is probably where I would do. If I'm a security admin, I'm wanting to do a secure code review to make sure that there's no vulnerabilities in the software. Cool. Yep. Alrighty. Which encryption techniques are used for AES, DES, and Blowfish? Okay. So I believe DES. Oh my goodness. Definitely random number generation. The question becomes, is it asymmetric or symmetric? I believe it is. I want to say it's symmetric. I'm gonna go with symmetric. Yeah, well, it was symmetric, but it's PRNG, which is a pseudo-random number generation. Symmetric algorithms are sometimes called block ciphers. So block ciphers are known as symmetric algorithms. Alright, it's been a while. Cool. A user notifies you that software application displays advertisements which, while the application is executing. What security threat is this example of? That would be adware. It's pretty easy. Okay. Next one, 17. A huge customer data breach occurred at a retail store. It originated from a store's point of sales. This is Target that they're talking about here, who did not have adequate malware protection. Yo, they seriously put a Target question up in this mug. Alright. Which risk mitigation concepts could the store have implemented to avoid a breach? Okay. So the key word here is that where the risk actually occurred. Okay. The retail store was impacted because one of their vendors were compromised. So that's a supply chain attack. So that's going to be D. A risk register is something that when you're doing a security assessment, you're kind of outlining everything that has been discovered as a potential vulnerability, and you're ranking it from high, low, medium, and high risk. You're also assessing the probability and the likelihood, and the severity of the actual exposure. So that's definitely not the answer. Likelihood of the occurrence also goes into the risk registry, so that's the reason why that's not the answer. And risk response technique is actually the outcome of what you do once you've discovered the risk. So that's definitely not it. So the answer is really going to be a supply chain assessment. Cool. All right, question number 18. You are incorporating a parameter network into a network redesign and adding several new devices to enhance security. Which of these would not be the best place in the new parameter network? Okay. So we have VPN concentrators, we have proxies, we have aggregation switches, and we have DDoS mitigation. So this one's going to be more of which one does not belong. So VPN concentrators are implemented for use for people who are accessing things from the outside, remote users, so that might be part of it. Proxies are used generally when you have a lot of users internally trying to access resources on the outside. So without burning a lot of IPs, you use a proxy instead, so that's probably good. Aggregation switches are probably also good as well. And DDoS mitigations, this is an availability answer, so are we asking availability questions here? I don't think so. So let me just double check, right? You're incorporating a parameter network into a network redesign and are adding several new devices to enhance security. So security is more of integrity and confidentiality, not availability. DDoS mitigation is availability, so I'm thinking that that's probably the odd man out here. And I was wrong. Aggregation switches are not best placed in a parameter network because they are best used to connect other switches together. They can be placed anywhere they are needed. Aggregation switches create a single bandwidth stream for multiple sources. A DDoS mitigator should be placed in the parameter network so that it can detect and mitigate any DDoS attacks. Okay. Yeah, I can live with that one. Alright guys, we got two more to go. And then it is, I'm going to put the stream to bed. It's already been 2 hours, so. You're building a public access Wi-Fi system for a new hotel. You want to require the users to accept a fair use policy to connect to the internet. Which of the following would you implement? Alrighty. So anytime you see WPS, or actually that's more WEP, so that's not the answer. 802.1 is more of a protocol to connect, so that's not going to be the answer. Radius Federation is more for accessing or authentication of users, which that would not be the answer because these are people who are actually these are users that are in a database itself, and the Radius Federation kind of makes sure that they have the right access to be able to get the resources itself. So A is not the answer. Captive portal is going to be the answer for this one here. So when I think of captive portal, like if you guys have ever been on an airplane and you try to connect to the Wi-Fi, it usually gives you like a splash screen that says, hey, or even when you're at a hotel, it gives you a splash screen that says, hey, for free Wi-Fi access, go ahead and click here and agree to these terms and conditions. That's what the captive portal is. So that would be the answer. Cool. Alright guys, thank you so much for joining the stream. We got one more question to go. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. Alright, here we go. So you are designing an access control system for a new company. Access control system. The company has asked that you ensure that the users are authenticated with a central server. In addition, users should only have access to the files that they need to perform their job. When implementing access controls, what is the appropriate order? Okay, so think of the triad when we do this one here. We want to make sure from a confidentiality perspective that the person who has access to it has access, that they have the rights to have access to it. So authentication is definitely going to be something that needs to be in our answer, and it looks like authentication is there, right? Authorization is making sure that those credentials have, how does it say it? Authentication. Okay, no, I take that back. Authorization is ensuring that the person has access to the system itself. Oh my goodness, I'm getting this mixed up here. Authentication is making sure that the credentials match. Authorization means that they have the rights to access it, and identification is ensuring that the person who's ensuring that that person is who they say they are. Alright, so what order should this be in? Identification should be first. Authentication should be second. And authorization should be third. Anyone object to that? I think it's B. Yeah, because the way that I think about it is identification is like my username and my password. And then from there, I authenticate that the username and password is correct. And then from there, any assigned permissions usually goes into authorization. So I'm going to go with B. Boom. You got to walk yourself through that stuff, guys. I am sometimes slow to that, but like if you just walk yourself through the actual login process, it should help you. Cool. All right. I've got time for one more. Okay, one more question, guys. Alright, here we go. Which algorithm is used as the digital signature for the US government and was developed by NIST and NASA? I don't know. Digital signature. Alrighty. So I'm gonna take an educated guess here. When it comes to the government, they love to use the word A for agency. So I'm gonna go with that. It wasn't agency, it was algorithm, but they love the A's. Digital signature algorithm. Nice. Alright guys, that's it for the stream. I'm gonna try to do these more often, some Security Plus and CISSP types of questions for you guys, if that's something that you guys are interested in. Please be sure to hit the like and subscribe button, greatly appreciate it. Yeah, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button, share this stream out, get more people involved. If you guys want these types of study halls more often, I'd be more than happy to do them for you. But thank you so much again for joining. Thank you for supporting the channel, whether you're on Twitch or YouTube. Greatly appreciate it. Y'all know the drill. Keep it real.